Shalom, brothers and sisters, and I am Rastavita. I had an open vision yesterday, and once again, I'm just going to jump straight into it and post the biblical references that the Ruach HaKodesh gives to me in the description or the comments for you to read later. But I'm just going to jump straight into it. Yesterday, I had an open vision of Adonai's right hand. I'm going to speak the vision first and then interpret it and speak about it. He had his pointer finger and it was glowing and glorious, of course. And I saw his right hand pierce through heaven itself, through the clouds. And his pointer finger was like a fishing hook. And he went through the realm and I saw him latch onto like a little parasite, like a little worm, like a maggot-like thing. And he just ripped it out. And it was like a 5-second vision. And I let it sit for 24 hours because the Ruach HaKodesh, I give him time to give me a full revelation, full download, interpretation, so I can post it for everyone online. This is what he said. He said, this year, Leviathan, the parasite, will be plucked out, will be pulled out of people. It is the year of Jubilee. It is the year of freedom. And this is where Adonai himself demands and commands restoration and order and back to, creation, back to everything in its state. It happens every 50 years. This happens to be the year. The year is not finished yet because on the Hebrew calendar, Rosh Hashanah, which is usually about end of September, October-ish, is when we do it for the new year. So it is still in place. There's still time and what Adonai is going to do. He said, this year I'm going to rip out Leviathan, the parasite, out. And he starts talking. He is telling me on the spiritual level, in the mind, heart, body, soul, and spirit. So people with physical ailments, he's going to rip out that serpent that has been bothering people like a parasite, because he is a parasitic spirit. And out of people's, Adonai's about to hook it out of people's mindsets. And so there's no such thing as mental illness. Us believers, we know that. It's just, torments from the enemy as people are trying to, wash their brain or, from being brainwashed. And he is going to rip it out and they're going to... So whatever the enemy has coiled around this serpent, like around people's mind, heart, body, soul, and spirit, whatever situation, he's about to unhook it out. He is going to remove this parasite out. And this is the year for it, which is really, really interesting and beautiful at the same time. He took me straight away to Numbers 21, verses 8 and 9. And I'm going to read it and talk about it. It says, then Adonai said to Moshe, and Moshe is Moses in English, but I'm going to speak the Hebrew names. Then Adonai said to Moshe, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole. And it shall be that everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live. So Moshe made a bronze serpent, verse 9, and put it on a pole, and so it was. If a serpent had bitten anyone, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. So everybody has been bitten by the serpent at some point. Adam and Eve did as well. It consumed them through the fruit on a spiritual toxic level, and it consumed in their body of the roots of who they are. And this is what a really interesting revelation. So 218, chapter 21, verse 8, in Hebrew means masculine flame. 219 means feminine light. So whatever has been stopping, this parasite, the spiritual parasite, that has been disrupting the masculine flame and the feminine light is going to be ripped out of relationships, people, within ourselves on a metaphysical level. That whatever is stopping us from progressing forward, up higher and upwards and onwards with Adonai, Yeshua, the Ruach HaKodesh, going to heaven is about to be ripped out so we can progress and go higher. He also drew my attention to the last two words of verse 8 and verse 9. Verse 8 says, shall live. And verse 9 says, he lived. So to the masculine and to the feminine, which is the male and female of Adonai's creation, he's saying, look at the cross and you shall live. Now, the bronze serpent is a reflection of Yeshua on the cross. Bronze in Hebrew, in not in Hebrew, I apologize, but in the spiritual realm, it represents strength. And the serpent, we know, means the enemy. Now, when Yeshua is on the cross, which he fulfilled in the new covenant, is that he shattered the curses and the toxicity of the enemy of Leviathan, the bronze serpent, on the cross. Even though the Hebrew Israelites only saw it in the physical platform, Adonai was trying to say to the people, look at the cross and you shall live. Us believers, we are to, and people, everyone, should look at the cross and we shall live. And it doesn't matter male or female, when we look at the cross, we live. And when Yeshua was hanging on the cross, so remember, he didn't wipe out the law. He just fulfilled the law, So he's the perfect end of what this bronze serpent looks like. Leviathan has done a very good job, over the years and over time to blind people. So when the Hebrew Israelites looked at the bronze serpent, they only saw a bronze serpent. They did not spiritually understand through what the enemy was blocking. Through that was the spiritual miracle that we shall live. So when we keep our eyes on the cross, we look beyond through the serpent, no matter the situation or the circumstance, what it looks like in the realm before us, that the veil of our eyes is about to be ripped out. And this is what Adonai was showing me yesterday. He said, Leviathan is a parasite, and I'm going to be ripping out this spirit this year. And if you go to Job 41 is where the very first line, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the very first line says, can you draw out Leviathan with a hook or snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Adonai is telling Job that no matter how righteous someone thinks they are, only Adonai can rip out Leviathan. And, when Adonai does this, he's going to show his glory. He's going to show the miracle of only what he can do. And when you look at Job 42, he's being restored and back to his promised land. Not a coincidence that 42 in Hebrew means arrival at the promised land. So Job needed a transformational process in having Adonai rip out Leviathan of whatever it may be, in whatever situation that Job was in, or whatever a human being is going through right now, especially believers. The Leviathan is about to be ripped out so we can enter our promised land. That spirit cannot enter the promised land, okay? Because, the promised land, the land of milk and honey, is where, all the demons and the preparation is done in the wilderness. But before we can enter before we can enter the promised land, Leviathan must be ripped out. It is not welcome. And when we look at, so Job 41 is great. So this is where Adonai is showing his glory. He's showing his transformation through, like, He's transforming Job through that revelation. When he rips out Leviathan, he lets Job see and hear what he does. And I love verse 10, I have to say. No one is so fierce that he would dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand against me? Leviathan himself cannot stand against Adonai. This is why Adonai will deal with that demon, that parasite, once and for all. It is a marine spirit. It lurks deep in the soul. It works deep in the realm. It's not so much on that physical way. It's more of a spiritual marine demon. And, which wriggles its way like a worm in people's minds, hearts, bodies, souls, and spirits. Whatever they're going through, and wherever it may be lurking, Adonai is about to catch it with a hook and rip it out this year. And this is a phenomenal. So male and female, because he's addressing the masculine flame and the feminine light. From the beginning of time, Adam was supposed to be the masculine flame, and Eve, the helper, the spiritual reflection of Adam, is supposed to be the feminine light. But instead, they brought death and extinguished the flame, and this is why Yeshua perfected it on the cross, and he is the pure masculine flame. So he broke all the curses of Adam, and the Ruach HaKodesh, brings in that divine feminine light inside of a female, because remember, the female is a spiritual reflection of the man. And after when Adam and Eve ate that fruit that the serpent had given to them, it became toxic inside of them. It was poisoned in some way, and it brought death, And so when we look at the cross, Yeshua conquered all of this, and he is the new Adam. So he is the masculine flame. He finished, he did what Adam could not, and brought people back into the garden and to stay in the garden. Only Yeshua himself can do that. But that Leviathan demon, that parasite, cannot cross over. And this is where a man will truly know deep in his soul, when his soul is engulfed in a flame like Yeshua. There's a difference between, like, Adam had the bad flame, he brought death, and Yeshua has the good flame, he brings life. And Eve, means giver of life. When she ate the fruit, she brought death. But a woman that's full of the Ruach HaKodesh brings life, because she has that spirit of life inside of her. So you can see that, before Adam and Eve can be the 2.0, born again version of Yeshua and the Ruach HaKodesh, that parasite Leviathan must be ripped out so we can come back into the garden in those pure divine elements of creation, of who we are and who we are supposed to be. So whatever is stopping us is about to be ripped out. Adonai himself is going to do it. He also brought my attention to Luke chapter 23 and Matthew chapter 27. I'm not going to read all of it, but he brought my attention to the two criminals. And once again, he keeps addressing that he's about to deal and sort out the men. He's about to, because he keeps telling me Abrahamic sin. It was prophetically prophesied in my video of 2025, 5785, that the Abrahamic sin, and John 8 is a reflection of this, of how Yeshua addressed it to the men, was how he's going to, what he's doing. There's the two types of men. The men have a spiritual choice. Do they want to be like Yeshua, or do they want to be like Adam? And so he gave me the reference of where the two criminals were being crucified and were hanging on the cross beside Yeshua. Now, one had a good attitude. He said, "Remember me in paradise. This man is innocent." And Yeshua said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." He realized that Yeshua is innocent and Yeshua has done no wrong. The man acknowledged that he was the one that was wrong and he was worthy of death. But Yeshua elevated him into paradise, and he was able to soar like an eagle. And the two types of men that's going on the crowns is an eagle crown or a crow crown. Eagle is one of the faces of Adonai. It's the highest bird, but the biggest enemy of the eagle is the crow. Adonai keeps giving me this parable and reflection. He keeps showing me in the spiritual realm that many men are fighting and in between these two realms, the spiritual realms of being a crow, of being an eagle. And the other man that was being crucified, had a very foul spirit, a very foul attitude. He had a death-like voice and said, "Well, if you're Yeshua, you could, save us from here." He didn't want to recognize his sin. He was a criminal. Yeshua is innocent, but he didn't see his own sin. He was trying to blame someone else for his wrongdoings, and he wanted to be set free. And so he became like a crow. And one went up like an eagle and the other one fell down like a crow. But who did Yeshua take to paradise, which is the third level of heaven? Who did he take up? The man with a good attitude, the man that persevered until the death. And also, he was able to progress and fly higher spiritually, because after the eagle face is the lion. So he was able to elevate to that level, because it goes the four faces of Adonai, according to the realms: human, ox, eagle, lion. And the other man, the crow, was attacking, he was pecking and mocking at Yeshua. And even the other man was trying to tell him, hey, this man's innocent. So he was standing up for Yeshua. He's like, no, we're the wrong ones. But the other man didn't want to accept any accountability. And you can see in the book of Malachi that before Yeshua enters in the book of Matthew in the New Covenant to cross over, the men had to be addressed, whether how they were acting. The ones that acted like crows, crying and, saying, what did they do wrong? In the book of Malachi, they get addressed. And they will not cross over to this, Yeshua will not come. Yeshua will not take them at the second coming. But the man that says we are the wrong ones and are not treacherous to their wives and have acknowledged their wrongs and have not robbed Adonai in any way, they are spiritually circumcised. They realize that they are the wrong ones and have been the wrong ones, and Yeshua is innocent, and they have not blamed Yeshua in any way, that these men will cross over and these men will be in the image of Yeshua. And so it's what's happening right now. And the Ruach HaKodesh just keeps repeating the same thing with different formations. He keeps showing me in the spiritual realm what men are going through. A lot of men are still not being accountable. They're not loving their wives. They're pushing their wives away. They're being like Abraham by throwing Sarah back to Egypt. And that's not what Adonai is looking for. That is not being spiritually circumcised. The foundation is wrong. Abraham is at the foundational level. Yeshua is the spiritual root, and he's addressing this deep spiritual roots of mankind. Because remember in John 8, Yeshua said to the Pharisees, before Abraham I was, before Abraham I am. He was saying before Abraham came into the picture, I am. So the seed of Yeshua, the root of Yeshua, was way before Abraham. Abraham just built the platform of foundation to be the father and to pull away from the forefathers. He started that. But he was not the root of that. Yeshua is the root of that. So that's why the Abrahamic sin is being addressed. The Ruach HaKodesh is also telling me right now that many people are in the spiritual and physical realm of the foundation is like the belly area and the genital area. So a lot of men and women that are not being spiritually circumcised, there's a high possibility that area is disrupted because Adonai is addressing a spiritual problem that's manifested physically. So if, it doesn't matter, that would also be a reflection of a spiritual misalignment. When we are aligned, our bodies are aligned too, because when our spiritual temple is aligned, he's just talking to me. When the spiritual realm is aligned, then the physical temples are aligned too, because we're aligning physical and spiritual into one. But if someone is not spiritually aligned, there's a physical mishap or a physical irritation of a warning before for that revelation. He will always nudge. It's like a warning before judgment sets in. It's like cancer. Cancer is the root of unforgiveness. And if unforgiveness is not addressed, it becomes toxic in the realm for that person until they can forgive and they are healed from cancer, because the spiritual misalignment has caused the physical misalignment. So another reflection of this in this Abrahamic thing that's being addressed is the belly and genitals area. So you will know yourself that in the belly area, the lower abdominal area, and the genital area, that is the area of foundation in the spiritual realm that is reflected in the physical realm of a human being. And, you know, when we spiritually walk correctly, whatever crooked is being removed from the path, and we walk with 2 feet on the actual path in the promised land of what and how Adonai wants us to be. There's like both legs are free, not just one leg is being free, like dragging our leg to try and get into the promised land, or, you know, through whatever we're going through. It's like there's walking with ease and being able to walk solidly like a lion, but flying high like an eagle as well. So it's like truly walking in alignment and correctly in the place and the way that Adonai wants you to. So I just want to encourage everyone that, especially the men, yes, this is the year where he is filtering out on, you know, the men of that spiritual attitudes, the crown, who do you serve, you know, the foundational area. And it's going to make or break, because Adonai has had enough. And you can see how severe that Malachi talks about it in the book of Malachi. You know, men being treacherous to their wives. But also, he's also addressing the women supporting the wrong spirit. You know, we can't support the things of the Bible, but then have a feminist, you know, Jezebel star attitude and serving that spirit too, and encouraging that spirit. We need to choose a spirit. Ladies, you need to choose a spirit. Which side are you on? And stick to that side. But the remnant that are about to cross into their promised land already knows these things and would not dare to spiritually compromise in any way. So the other women that are doing that, they're still in their wilderness until they can get their mind and heart aligned, healed, aligned, and walking in the fear of Adonai, which is true wisdom. But the men, this is for you. And in order to come into the pure masculine flame of Yeshua HaMashiach, the sins of Adam needs to be put away, and once and for all. And before anyone can come back into the spiritual garden, the promised land that he has promised his people, this parasite will be ripped out. But he's going to restore. Whatever he rips out, he's going to heal, restore. So Adonai, you know, will cause wounds and devastation for healing, because it's like a band-aid and there's a wound. We can't keep covering it. Yeshua is going to rip open the band-aid, and so there can't be any gangrene. There needs to be true healing in someone's mind, heart, body, soul, and spirit once and for all. And this parasite must let go once and for all. It's going to be devastating for a lot of people. When Adonai rips this parasite out, and people are going to see the truth from his eyes, from his perspective, it's unfortunately, a lot of people won't be able to handle it, as we can see with the criminal's attitude when Yeshua was hanging on the cross, and he still acted like a crow, mocking, teasing, foul attitude, foul-like spirit. And, you know, his crown was wrong. His crown was dirty. And, you know, but Yeshua was able to take that man into paradise before his heavenly Father, and found a true brother. And, you know, a true brother, a true friend, because Yeshua, you know, says, you know, like, you know, we are the sons and daughters of the Most High. So, you know, there's a difference between an obedient son with a good attitude and a disobedient son with a foul attitude. And parents would know the difference between when their child, you know, depending what attitude they have, is the attitude that they, you know, manifest. And it's the type of, and that's something that we don't want to entertain. It needs healing. It needs, you know, walking through, and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But it is a powerful thing. So whatever you're going through, just look at the cross. Male, female, just look at the cross, because that serpent is about to be ripped out, and the strength of the serpent that was on the pole back in Moshe's days, you know, when we keep our eyes on the cross, remember, Yeshua shattered all the chains of the enemy, you know, and in the middle realm and below the realm and across all realms. He shattered every single chain of death. Whatever the serpent has coiled around, he shattered the chains of Leviathan. And Behemoth is Leviathan's friend. That's that beast-like demon, and Leviathan is that serpent-like demon. So there's two types that is in the realm, but right now Leviathan is being addressed. He's the parasite that is stopping many people, because he's that little worm back in the garden originally that corrupted Adam and Eve individually, marital, and, you know, with the generations. That curse is being reversed, and that's why Leviathan is being ripped out. So that snake is about to be ripped out so we can enter the garden freely. So there is no contamination, and there is no toxicity, and there is no snake. So we can live and dwell in peace at the third level of where Yeshua is, and that's where the tree of life is. You want to know where you get that from? Where you know that from? Book of Enoch. Shalom.